I'm going to look at my phone. It says live on YouTube, so I'm going to go on my phone to double check that it is. And it appears, did somebody want to see? Okay. Great, so let's get started. I think Maren had the first point, I believe.
So I don't know if Eric wants to make an intro.
Oh, yeah. Yep.
Yeah, so we started a new process last retrospective, so a month ago, where we selected one and only one try item to make progress on. And the general algorithm was high impact divided by low effort multiplied by whether or not we have a passionate champion to solve this problem for us. And last week, we identified Maren as someone who had a few ideas that he wanted to put in place. So with that, Maren, do you want to walk us through what you were able to accomplish?
Sure. Thanks, Eric. So my task was to make some changes with our QA pipelines, namely change the notification to a Slack channel so that everyone can be notified when we have a failure, speed up some builds, and organize and hold a training session on GitLab QA. So the minimum impact change that we did with notification was we just switched it to development channel, but then we recognized that we can improve that, and we started using GitLab's inbuilt Slack service to do this. So now we are also testing our Slack integration as well, and any failure of GitLab QA pipeline goes directly into development channel. When it comes to speeding up builds, we started off with builds that took more than 2 hours on GitLab.com. We introduced some new machines there and added caching, and we got the new builds on GitLab.com for triggered packages to go down to 24 minutes. Then we recognized a couple of other small improvements that we can do to shave off a couple of other minutes. And then we got it down to 20 minutes. So there, I need to make a couple of disclaimers. First of all, there is more work to be done. We are going to be working further on to improve this, to shave any seconds or minutes we can. Second of all, it is important to know that build times are highly dependent on what you're building, right? Like if the cache is not warm, if you're rebuilding basically a project that has a lot of dependencies, things will add up. But overall, with warmer cache, you can get your full build and then Docker image build and then QA trigger done within 45 minutes. So all of those steps together. When it comes to training session, I have to mention Ian, who organized all of this. So he talked with all the interested parties, and he ended up presenting the training session. You can find it there on that link. If you cannot reach it, please let me know. I've been known to have problems in the past making the YouTube links publicly accessible for some reason. I cannot figure it out. Can we make it listed? Yes, we can, Sid. Again, I probably just clicked the button. I didn't even consider how it looks. So I'll get that done with another task that I have, and that is adding it to our handbook. That's one of the follow-up things I need to do from my side.
Thanks.
That's it from my side. Eric, any more follow-ups, or can we move on?
We can move on, but awesome job. I'm really happy that the first time we tried this, you were able to deliver so much progress.
Great. Josh, you're up next.
Thanks, Maren. So on the topic of what went well this month, we were able to deliver PGHA, or Postgres High Availability, and we were able to deliver that and mark it as generally available. This has been the culmination of a ton of work by the team, notably Ian, who's put a lot of time on this, and it's required working with multiple tools, tool selection, ruling out ones that didn't work so well. So it's been, again, a large effort here to provide a packaged, highly available Postgres implementation with automatic failover. And the team's done a great job here, and really happy they're able to go GA this month. So super excited for most folks to try it. We've gotten some folks some support to go through and install. We're, of course, continuing to iterate in some of the documentation aspects to make sure it's as clear as possible. But so far on the technical side, it's been working really well, and the feedback has been great. So great job, team, and congratulations. Victor?
Portfolio management has been going very well in 10.2. We were able to get a lot of iterations in. What I mean by that is we were able to merge in a lot of really small merge requests culminating into the main feature itself. So that has been very good, and we've been able to give feedback, or product has been able to give feedback, design has been able to give feedback very quickly. We were able to find a lot of edge cases and bugs that we weren't able to account for initially. But by chopping up into very, very small merge requests, we were able to do this. So there's a link there to another doc with more details. BJ? BJ, you're on mute if you're speaking. BJ, don't think I have talk access. Promote. Okay, try it again, BJ.
Yeah, he needs to reload Zoom for that to work.
Okay, yeah, I'm promoting people as quickly as I can. And I just promoted you like 30 seconds ago. BJ, can you try it again and see if that works?
Yeah, thanks, Victor. Appreciate that. Yeah, I just had just a couple things in the what went well, and they were mostly just kudos to people, the release managers and the product team for helping out with testing and making sure that process went really smoothly for 10.2. And then, we had a few late breaking things come up. One of them was the Rpc Gem update, and I thought Alejandro and Camille did a great job of kind of communicating that and then going through the process of deciding if we should release that sort of at the last minute. So all that just went really well, and I just wanted to give a couple shout outs.
Cool. I think I'm up next. So another area that went well this release was the build team essentially added a feature where we summarize the deprecation warnings and other types of key important feedback that happens during a reconfigure run. If folks haven't ran reconfigure, essentially what happens is you get this very large set of text as we go through and perform a wide variety of tasks. And previously, we would emit warnings if we found some configuration that was deprecated or something needed attention. But it was very easy to get lost in the stream of other settings and other output from the tool. And so with 10.2, we introduced the feature where we now summarize those at the very end of the output. This dramatically increases the chances that people will see the fact that there's a warning and a deprecation or something needs attention, and should really help to advertise the fact that these are going away and the action people need to take to essentially switch on to the new method of whatever it is. And so this will hopefully really improve the experience that our customers will have in updating to the next major version that has deprecations with fewer surprises. So great job, team, there, improving the user experience of our product and making it easier for us to also deprecate things and provide proper warnings and notification to people that they perhaps need some attention on their configuration settings. Fabio?
Yeah, Josh, thanks. So we had very hard times with our Kubernetes GK integration issue. It was big. There were a lot of unknown problems at the beginning. So we had to refine it during the cycle, cutting scope, adding things. But at the end, we managed to merge at least the MVP of everything we scheduled. So we created follow-up issues. And the most important thing is that we were able to collaborate a lot, even if it required a couple of different tasks that were quite orthogonal at the beginning. The team was very great in helping one with each other and jump in, reviewing and everything. And that's something that we really appreciated. Camille?
It kind of builds on the top of what Fabio said, but it's really a pleasure to see like that we figure out problems. We just discover them along the way, but we also figure out quick solutions to these problems. One of these problems was the security of sharing out the Helm command. But like with the great discussion on the GitLab summit with Brian and Alessio, we did manage to figure out what to do with that and basically implement that the week after. And big kudos for Alessio for doing that. Also, we then later figure out that it was proposed by Shinya basically that we should have the CI/CD retro ahead of the company-wide retro. And like it seems that something that we stopped doing some time ago. It's actually quite a good idea to talk about how we work as the team, and then have like the better understanding of our problems that we can then like emphasis on the GitLab wide retro. You can see the notes from our retro. It is public doc, so feel free to read them. Jakob.
So the communication with the portfolio management was great. Everyone in the front end team pulled together to help us get it out. There was a lot of different things to coordinate. So the really small merge requests that went through were really good, but also there were a lot of people that were out for different reasons, and everybody really pulled together to take over the other work that needed to be done. And in the end, we got it done. James, you have the next point.
Thanks. GitLab Geo went generally available this release, which was really great. It was a particularly challenging release to get out. We'd previously been aiming at the 10.3 release in December, but we shifted that to 10.2, and this really required us to dig deep and scale up the team. And it was just incredible work by the entire Geo team and all the newcomers who started working on Geo for the first time only 2 weeks before release day or the code freeze. So thank you everyone for that hard work, and also Eric for helping us implement a new demo process that we were running every couple of days in the lead up to release to help us find issues and improve the quality. It was a really great process, and we'll continue to use that for the next few releases. Josh, you're next.
Yeah, thanks, James. So I get to lead off the what went wrong section. So these are areas that we think we should improve, or that something occurred here. So I kick it off here with the fact that in 10.2.0, the Prometheus metrics gem and the monitoring essentially, if you had it enabled, caused the GitLab server to essentially crash extremely quickly, to the point where you might not be able to get into the console to disable it. The cause here is that we significantly increased the number of metrics that were being output. I think it's tens of thousands at this point in time on dev, for example. And so this higher level of metrics exacerbated the issue, and we had to ship an emergency 10.2.1 to disable. We are targeting potentially 10.2.3 for some fixes. But we tried turning it on in dev, and we caught some additional performance problems. And so we're still here hard at work on trying to essentially address these and get it stable enough so that it runs on dev. We did agree that we're not going to re-enable Prometheus metrics until they can run stably on dev. And so that's the current process. As far as running on production first, we want to make sure we can run on dev and staging in a stable manner before running on production. Production is definitely the worst case scenario. It has the highest amount of metrics. And so it is sort of the stress test of the gem for sure. But we certainly probably don't want to cross that bridge until dev is stable first.
Sure, but Josh, can we make sure we run it on production before we ship it to customers? Because that is our golden standard. Like, we run stuff on production before it goes out, and I didn't see that in the issue immediately.
Okay, yeah, we'll make sure that's a gate before we turn this back on. Thanks, Ted.
Thanks.
We did do a team retrospective on Friday, and we came up with 3 action items, as you can see them there, but we'll add this as a 4th item here for sure as well. Yeah, so on to BJ for the next item here.
Thanks, Josh. So yeah, I'll kind of maybe go through the next few because they're all mine. And Josh was talking about at least this first one with respect to Prometheus metrics. We had a few other issues that came up.
Hey,
one that we...
BJ, just a quick one. Your video is off in case you hadn't noticed.
Yeah, I'm on a fairly low bandwidth connection. I just didn't want to mess with the audio. Yeah, no worries. So there were 2 others other than the one that Josh just talked about that came up sort of close to release time. One of them, the gRPC Gem update, we kind of addressed before we proceeded with the deploys. The other one was sort of caught around that time or afterwards. So, this is just kind of a heads up that I'd like to kind of dig into this a little bit more and see what we can improve, at least with respect to our testing and preparation for next release. So just keep an eye out on that, or if any teams have already started doing that, just feel free to include me. The second one, the next two, I guess, are just maybe more internally for how we're going to handle testing and QA for future releases. I'd like to come up with a little bit more of an organized method of identifying, what's covered by automated tests, what needs to be covered by manual testing, and kind of who's going to do that. We sort of did it in an ad hoc manner for this release, and I would just personally like to be a little bit better prepared for next time. And that includes things like, what are the features we're delivering for any given build, or what changes and fixes, what's the best way to test them, who's the best person to do that. And then lastly, similarly, increasing our automated test coverage for next time. And that also includes kind of prioritizing the areas that have low coverage or that need to be addressed, maybe based on changes that are being made. And again, who's going to kind of help do that, and are they prepared to help? So just look out for me to maybe reach out to you if you're working on a feature for next time. And that's about it. If there are no questions, Nick, not here, and Camille.
So, as always, we are very ambitious. Sometimes we are too ambitious, and clusters refactoring was this was like very ambitious. Merge requests did grow so significantly that actually it put a lot of pressure on everyone, and basically it became a prerequisite for everything else GKE related for that release. I would say that we managed to do that, but like the cost of and the stress was not the ideal. This is definitely something that we could do better on, trying to split that into smaller parts, make it easier for everyone to review. This is actually also something that we kind of noticed at the end, and this is also what came up after CI/CD retro. Another one is actually MVP of Ingress apps. It works, but basically it's like MVP of MVP. It gives us a confidence that we can do it, but it's still far from even considering this GA. And we did took the simplest approach, but we did not answer the problems that we did know that are there with this approach. So it's good that we have that, but the usability of that, it's not that great either. Stages migration, this is starts to me to be a never-ending story that we are following and committing or not committing to that. The last month, we at some point we discovered that we missed some part of the data that we had to migrate, but we did not migrate. And this actually requires the follow-up. But basically, it kind of stopped us from having some important performance improvements. We have plans in place, but the capacity and of the team to make sure that we can spend enough time on finishing that. It's still like big problem for us. Marin.
Thanks, Camille. One other thing that was pretty apparent during the release is the change we did in package promotion machines caused some problems with for the release managers, where machine would just get stuck in uploading tasks. So canceling the build would not re-upload the package correctly, and that caused a lot of confusion. We made some progress in improving that, but mostly with the workaround, we still don't know the cause of machines getting stuck. So that was less than ideal. Back to you, Camille.
So our friends crypto miners are just continuing to be paying manual job for me and Brian. Basically, it kind of become our daily routine to check out the health stats, where it should not be like that pretty much. And actually, this is also causing us more and more problems over time, because it kind of makes the experience for users using GitLab CI worse. Because of that, also for the reason that even that we have so many different alerts, we actually don't track the queuing time. So one of these examples of these recent examples that we kind of face of wrong processing time would be discovered with this queuing time ahead of the issue, where we could still manage that. But when we build a long queue, it just takes longer time to process, and it definitely hurts the experience. For example, Pablo did notify us about the CI processing problems, where in some on some of his pipeline, he had the queuing time of around 2 hours. On the other, it had around 1 hour. And this is way, 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 way over the roof, basically. Jakob.
So there's this thing called the Slack landing page. It was a small item that needed to be passed over for many months, which is totally fine. That part is totally fine. However, when we finally did get to it, we came really close to the release time again, and we had to ask for an extension on it because of planning issues. It's kind of like the time just disappeared suddenly, and then sometimes these small things can sneak up on you. But in the end, it did get delivered, which is good, but there was something that went wrong in the planning of the delivery of it. So that was something that went wrong this month. James, you're going to deliver Nick's.
Yeah, so I sort of alluded to this above, but there was a big shift in how we were approaching delivering Geo at the summit and the timelines we were aiming for. And as a result, that put a lot of pressure in the back half of the 10.2 process, and we ended up having to sort of just keep push through past the feature freeze. And so there were changes being picked into 10.2 all the way up until the Friday or the weekend before release. And that put a lot of pressure on the team and was, not a great experience, and has sort of made 10.3 also pretty hard to plan because it meant a lot of development, significant development was happening right up to the last. And so there wasn't really enough time for testing in quite the way we'd hoped. That was feedback. And I think anyone from the Geo team that wants to add on to that, feel free. Otherwise, hand over to Fabio.
Thanks, James. So now let's talk about what we can improve. So my point is that we should merge earlier, merge smaller, and have a better early validation. It's nothing new, and probably something that is shared between all the teams, but we are still missing. We are not still there. And we are still feeling that this is really important because we have a lot of different merge requests that collaborate together. And so if we cannot do that after a few weeks, we'll find every release at the very last moment problems or conflicts between them. It's not so simple to address. So a lot of pressure in the last week, and we want to avoid it. So that's why one of the things that we should try to improve as soon as possible. Camille?
So basically, this is kind of rephrasing that if we want to make sure that experience of the CI is good. We need to figure out what else we have to track and basically start building SLA on parts of the system and be violent about them. Eric.
Yeah, just kind of reiterating the problem that one of the reasons for metrics being broken in 10.2 is that we apparently had it disabled in production. So we broke symmetry essentially here between what we run on GitLab.com versus what we're shipping to our on-prem customers with, unfortunately predictable results. So I think this one is potentially a high priority one to get fixed. Jacob?
Eric, can I just add one more thing here? Because I think there is a tiny bit of a confusion. We ran Prometheus in production on dev.gitlab.org. Dev server is not a development server. It's a server that we use for development that is deployed from a nightly package in production. And it was enabled there, as far as I know.
Is the issue
can we just do disambiguate a bit? Can we call it gitlab.org and not dev server or something else? We changed this in the listing of things. So call it gitlab.org because dev is just very, very confusing.
Yep, sure. We can call it gitlab.org.
Maren, is the issue then that metrics didn't see pressure from GitLab.com?
I would rather let Ben talk about this a bit more.
Okay. Well, why don't we let Jacob go? And then I think this is a good one to maybe make the one for the next month. So Jacob, can you run through your item?
Sure. Yeah, so the QA for UX regressions in front end has gotten better, but it's definitely something we can improve. And it's a process that we don't totally have down yet. So it's something that we are working on to improve, and we need to improve. Sid, did you want to read that point?
No, just wanted to add a link. Let's go back to the previous one.
So Ben, maybe as Maren suggested, you can kind of talk us through what the actual situation was here and what we should or could change.
So part of the problem that we ran into was the testing that we were doing of the new metrics features was being done in the GDK environment and not the Omnibus environment, and that didn't really give us enough data in the GDK environment to fully understand the impact of the metrics we were adding. So late in the process, we turned up a dedicated testing Omnibus server, and we're much more quickly found the problems with the new metrics we were adding.
What could we change in the next month to prevent this sort of situation from happening again?
So we're running all of these new metrics against a dev server that is dedicated to testing our metrics.
Sorry, a dev server?
Yes, we have a testing server that's separate from the GitLab.org server to let us fully reproduce any issues with the Omnibus build.
So a one-off server?
Yeah, it's a one-off. And then going forward, we're going to pay much closer attention to the GitLab.org and how this stuff is rolled into staging as well. The problem is every time we've tried to turn this on in production and staging, it's been broken and it takes down production and staging. And since the Prometheus team developers don't have access to debug anything in production or staging, our turnaround time to reproduce issues was far too long. So by setting up our own test environment, we were able to much more quickly get through the bugs that we were running into, trying to add the significant amount of metrics that were available in the InfluxDB metrics collector into the Prometheus metrics collector. And
so Sid is typing what I'm thinking, which is if we get you access to staging, could you make at least incremental progress over the next 30 days on tackling some of these issues that are making it unstable?
We've got pretty much everything figured out already, and we've already got the testing server. And once we get that, that's been baking for a few days with good results. And next, we're going to roll it out to staging.
Okay. What could we accomplish in the next 30 days? Do you think it's reasonable to say like we've got symmetry on staging or in production, or is it eliminate a certain class of issues or a certain number of issues?
No, our goal is to have everything rolled out to production in the next 30 days.
Okay. All right. Well, let's make that the one major action item that we take out of this retro.
Yeah, we need to get that. Like the production engineering is really wanting these metrics. I want to see these metrics in production. We've been trying for multiple releases, but with the lack of resources on the team, we haven't been able to get it done. And there's also been a whole bunch of actual tricky code bugs in trying to get the metrics library stable.
Yeah, if I could add on there, this has been an area that has proven, as you mentioned, challenging in the past, where we thought we nipped it and things looked good, only to find out after running a couple of days, we ended up finding an issue or something like that, which is the reason why this is still off by default for everyone. You have to go in and particularly turn this on. So I think maybe Stan or Eric, I'm not sure if we can maybe get some secondary eyes here, because I don't have comfort level that, come a week from now or 2 from now, that we're going to find everything and fix everything, because we just continue to find, kind of issue after we think we nipped it. And then that's been going on for a number of cycles here. So I think one other follow-up here is perhaps to have a conversation on how we can try to address this once and for all, and what ways we might be able to do that, just because we've gone a couple releases now. The challenges.
Do you think the Prometheus team needs more resources, or do they need, time from other teams, or do they need, someone from the production team identified to kind of partner with them?
We're already opening up headcount for the Prometheus team.
But I mean, in the next 30 days, is there anything that you need?
Cooperation from production team to get this turned on and tested as quickly as possible once we have fixes.
And I think
I'll talk to them in the meeting tomorrow, and I'll give them a heads up about this, and we'll get you the support that you need.
And I think just to add on there, Eric, it might help if we have someone who knows like a lot of sort of the complicated threading and perhaps other issues that we're running into here, maybe on the Ruby side, just because it might be helpful to have a second set of eyes on this. I know Stan started to take a look at it, I think this in more detail, which has been helpful to get some other input, but it might help to have a second set of eyes look at this who is familiar with that kind of stuff, and maybe they could have ideas for improvement, or maybe just with a second set of eyes after having one person look at this for the last couple of months, might be able to identify a couple areas that we might be missing here.
Okay.
Yeah, this is a very tricky piece of code because it's very low-level Ruby threading, locking, and integration with some C code. So it's quite it's a very high performance, very low-level piece of Ruby code that has been very difficult to get working reliably. But once it's done, it should be pretty easy to maintain and support.
Okay. All right. So I think we have our major action, and we have our champion and Ben. Victor, is there anything you want to say to close us out?
Nope, that's it. So we can meet in whenever our next retro is next month. All right. Thanks, everybody. I'm going to stop